from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, this is iRadio News. First, here are the headlines. A renowned South Sudanese female journalist, Diana Jonwani, has passed on yesterday from malaria infection. An activist has criticized the SPLM for yet again failing to appoint women as deputy state governors following last night's presidential decree. And the number of people killed in cattle-related attacks in Awirial County of Lake State has risen to 7. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Woja Emmanuel, and now the news in detail. A renowned South Sudanese female journalist, Diana Jonwani, has passed on yesterday in Juba at the age of 28. Miss Diana died at the Juba Medical Complex. She first fell sick on December 26, 2020. According to the doctor's report, the young lady succumbed to severe malaria and ulcers. Her uncle, Charles Simon, told the iRadio this morning that Diana's death came as a shock to the entire family and the media fraternity.
مولود 92 عمره 28 سنة هسه يوم 26 كان شارد بجسمه مو كويس بعدين ودي لمارين هنا كشفوه لقوا ملاريا بعدين وديه أدوية ملاريا رجعوه بيت بالليل بقى حالته يتدهور شديد يا رجعوه هنا في لمارين بقى أحوالته ما كويس ياو حولناه من مارين لGMC في جوبا لأنه في إكتئين هنا فماشي عملوا فحوصات بجديد ولقوا بين عنده ملاريا 4 سنين وعنده جرحى ويلا كان في ضيق في تنفس بينفس بالصورة كده بقى أحوالته حقنوه كوينين وأحوال بيتدهور دكتور شاب إنه كلي سيلمينو سامبل عشان وديه في مع الكورونا بعدين وديه سامبل هنا جاء نيجاتيف فأحوالته زي واحد كده هي توفى التوالي.
Lady Diana is the daughter of John Wani Simon and Veronica Aristolako. She is a graduate of Khartoum University, Faculty of Arts and Department of Mass Communications and Philosophy. She worked with Al Mawaqif newspaper and recently as a contractor for Arabic news at iRadio. Her death has shocked fellow journalists and media stakeholders. Those who knew her as a field reporter described the late Diana as a jovial and social person who was a professional while conducting her duties. iRadio station manager and acting CEO Kong Palchang paid tribute to the late Diana John.
On behalf of iMedia and iRadio family, I extend my heartfelt condolences to the family of our colleague Diana John Wani. I came to know the late when she joined iRadio on short term as Arabic news presenter. I was so sad when I heard the news that she passed on. Diana was a good person. She was one of the few journalists who work hard and does her work passionately. She was a quiet person who don't talk much, but to her job, media fraternity in South Sudan has really lost a young soul. May her soul rest in peace.
The family is yet to communicate the burial and funeral arrangements for the late Diana John Wane. This is iRadio News. President Salva Kiir has appointed 6 deputy governors for some of the states in South Sudan. There are 10 states in South Sudan with 9 appointed governors. The leadership of the one state, Upper Nile, is yet in contention. My colleague Lugala Mulai files this report.
In a decree issued last evening, Kiir named the deputy governors of Jonglei, Lakes, Unity, Eastern Equatoria, Western Equatoria, and Western Bahr el Ghazal states. The announcement only featured nominees of the SPLM under President Salva Kiir and those of the SPLM-IO under Dr. Riek Machar. In the decree, President Kiir appointed Mary Nadio Alphonse as the deputy governor of Eastern Equatoria State. She was nominated by the SPLM-IO. Antipas Nyok was named the deputy governor of Jonglei State through the SPLM. Both Madid Dut of the SPLM-IO was appointed deputy governor of Lake State. The former governor of the defunct Wow State, Angelo Taban Biagio, was appointed deputy governor of Western Bahr el Ghazal State through the SPLM party. while Tor Tungwang Kwengong was named Deputy Governor of Unity States after being nominated by the SPLM-IO. The president also appointed Kennedy Ganiko as the Deputy Governor of Western Equatoria State as nominated by the SPLM. Kir did not appoint a Deputy Governor of Northern Baral Ghazal, Warab, and Central Equatoria States. There were also no appointees from the South Sudan Opposition Alliance, SOA, other political parties, the OPP, and the former detainees or the FDs. His presidential advisor on security, Tutgat Luak, had informed the media yesterday that there are still misunderstandings among members of the other political parties, OPP, over their choice for a deputy governor in a state allocated to them. According to the revitalized peace deal, the responsibility sharing ratio at the state and local government level shall be 55% for the SPLM, 27% for the SPLM-IO, 10% for SOA, and 8% for OPP. However, in August, the parties agreed on a new formula for sharing state structures. They agreed that there shall remain 10 deputy governors. President Salva Kiir's group shall nominate 3, Dr. Riek Machar's party shall nominate 3, while SOA shall nominate 1, and OPP shall nominate 3 deputy governors. They also agreed to appoint 5 advisors for each state governor. They further resolved to appoint 17 ministers for each of the state. President Kiir's party shall nominate 9, Machar with 5 nominees, 2 from the SOA and 1 from the OPP. There are currently 9 appointed state governors and 3 chief administrators, with no state cabinet and other local government officials. This excludes Upper Nile State, which is yet to get a governor. A reconciliation conference of the communities of the state is yet to take place in Juba to discuss ways and means of resolving communal differences to create harmony in the state. The parties are also yet to appoint state ministers, legislatures, advisors, commissioners, and administrators. 2 years after signing the revitalized peace agreement, the country's political leaders are still struggling to implement tasks spelled out by the deal. Many critical tasks remain unaccomplished. Besides unification and deployment of government and opposition forces, the peace parties are yet to reconstitute the national legislature, the body responsible for enacting reforms stipulated in the agreement. According to observers, disputes among peace parties and financial constraints have been major obstacles to completing the peace process. For iRadio, I am Lugala Molai reporting.
Meanwhile, a civil society activist has criticized President Salva Kiir's party for yet again failing to appoint women into positions of deputy state governors. Last evening, the president revealed 3 appointees for deputy state governors as nominated by the SPLM. Kiir named Antipas Nyok, Kennedy Ganiko, and Angelo Taban Biagio as deputy governors for Jonglei, Western Equatoria, and Western Baral Ghazal states, respectively. The 3 add up to the list of 6 male governors, 3 chief administrators already appointed through the SPLM party in June. President Kiir's party has not appointed a single woman into top positions of governance in the country in what observers have described as a violation of the revitalized peace agreement. Only the SPLM-IO under Dr. Riek Machar has once again appointed a woman as deputy governor for Eastern Equatoria State. Mary Nadio Alphonse joins Governor Sarah Kileto of Western Baral Ghazal State as the 2 prominent women on the SPLM-IO ticket. Last evening's appointment has been widely challenged by activists. This is because the revitalized peace agreement expects that the parties to ensure there is a 35% of women representation at all levels of government. Rajab Mohandis is the executive director of the Organization for Responsive Governance. He describes as unfortunate the move by the SPLM to sideline women in leading prominent positions at the national and the state levels.
The agreement has been very clear on issues of inclusive representation, and on that note, it spells out clearly the quota for women representation, and unfortunately this has not been met by the former incumbent transitional government of national unity, which is quite unfortunate. They appointed 3 deputy governors, and out of these 3, at least 1 should have been a female deputy governor, which did not happen. But it was positive on the side of the SPLM-IO for managing to appoint a female deputy governor among the 3 deputy governors that they appointed. So it is both violation and undermining of the participation of women in the implementation of the peace process and also in political leadership.
This is not the first time for the president's side to violate the provisions that empower women in the revitalized transitional government. In March this year, President Kiir appointed 5 cabinet-level ministers despite the agreement stating that the SPLM shall ensure no fewer than 6 women are appointed into the Council of Ministers. The SPLM-IO appointed 2, although the agreement expects 3 women into the cabinet. President Salva Kiir's party now has 12 leading men in the states, 6 male governors, 3 male deputy governors, and 3 male chief administrators. In October, a group of activists petitioned the Supreme Court to overturn the decision by the SPLM to appoint majority men into the executive positions. They described it as a violation of the Constitution, affirmative action on women's participation, and the revitalized peace deal. It remains to be seen whether the SPLM will nominate and appoint a woman as speakers of the National Parliament, Council of States, and state legislators, and state legislatures, the only remaining senior positions in the country. You are still listening to iRadio News. The number of people killed in cattle-related attacks in Awirial County of Lake State has risen to 7. This is according to the executive director of Bunagok Payam. On Tuesday, 2 people were reportedly killed when unknown bandits attacked a cattle camp. James Ken says 3 people were also wounded in the raid. He told the iRadio yesterday afternoon that the clashes happened again in the evening, increasing the death toll.
In yesterday's attack, 7 people have been killed and 3 wounded. The fighting started around 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. As we speak now, the security situation is not good. The tension is still high. We need police and army because Bunagok is a broad area which needs some police and the army personnel.
Last month, more than 4 people died in revenge-related violence in the same area. Lake State in particular has been experiencing communal and cattle-related killings. The state is currently under a mandatory disarmament exercise, but armed civilian attacks have persisted. The United States Senate Foreign Relations Committee has called for the government of South Sudan to immediately ensure unhindered humanitarian access to people in need across the country. According to the committee's chairman, he is deeply concerned about the reports of famine in South Sudan intensified by floods and violence. Senator James Rich underscored the importance of the work of the World Food Program and USA to save lives in the country. Okot Emmanuel has more on this story.
2 weeks ago, the government and several UN agencies said parts of South Sudan are facing catastrophic food shortages fueled by conflict. Figures released by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification estimates that between October and November, up to 6.5 million people will face severe acute food insecurity and require urgent assistance. This number is projected to grow to 7.24 million between April and July 2021. It identified tens of thousands of people to be likely to face acute malnutrition and even mortality in Pibor, Akobo, Awil South, Tonj East, Tonj North and Tonj South. Recently, the heads of diplomatic mission in South Sudan called for partnership among the donors, humanitarian agencies and the government to fully address the humanitarian needs. But an expert on international conflict and resolution says ending famine and silencing the guns can only come to fruition if everyone respects weapon embargo, law and international norms. Futea Gele blamed South Sudan military elites and corrupt officials for diverting funds required to build a stable and secure country. In a Twitter post, the chairman of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Jim Rich, urged all stakeholders to step up effort to assist those in dire need. He particularly asked the government to ensure the safety for aid workers and facilitate the free movement of humanitarian agencies. Senator Rich stated that the government of South Sudan must ensure unhindered humanitarian access. Reporting for iRadio News, I'm Okot Emmanuel.
You are still listening to iRadio News, and before approaching stories coming from the region and the international scene. A committee tasked with reconciling the warring communities in Terekeka County says it has been met with reservations by sections in central Equatorial State. So recently, the state governor Emmanuel Adil Anthony formed a committee to restore peace among the Mundari communities. Clashes amongst the communities have so far led to the death of about 50 people. The committee, headed by the Archbishop of the Central Equatorial State Internal Province, is tasked with visiting various sections of the Terkeka and to come up with tangible solutions to the conflicts. But the Information Secretary of the Peace and Reconciliation Committee says they are getting resistance from some sections of the county even before beginning the work. Kileman Maring was speaking to iRadio yesterday.
At the moment, we have, first of all, challenges of some of the members of the Mondari community. They're challenging the committee of not fulfilling a task. They actually did not understand our committee mandate. They thought we are to arrest the culprits. They thought we are to take the active measures which are supposed to be for the county there and also for the security personnel, and they are challenging us of this mandate, which is actually not ours, because our mandate is not for the active work like arresting of the criminals and also bringing back cattle which were taken.
There have been fighting, killings and displacement amongst the communities from Terekeka and several parts of Central Equatorial State. In Juba alone, more than 15 people died and hundreds have been displaced into schools and churches this month. Over the weekend, 13 people of Terekeka origin also died following cattle-related conflict in Lanya County. The sectional conflict further led to the killing of a Pentecostal Church Bishop Garang Achek Awel in Ardeb area by suspected armed assailants from Terekeka County. This is iRadio News, and now my colleague Priska Akol is here with a round of stories from the region and the international scene. Hello, Priska.
Thank you, Waja. Let's have a look at stories that are making headlines in the region and across the globe. Zimbabwe is bracing for a new surge in COVID-19 cases after the country was forced to take thousands of migrants from South Africa without proper screening due to pressure at points of entry during the festive season. The Southern African country has been recording an increase in COVID-19 cases in the past 2 months amidst fears that a new variant of the coronavirus recently discovered in South Africa will worsen the outbreak after thousands of Zimbabweans flocked back home for Christmas holiday. Authorities at Beit border post, the biggest port of entry between Zimbabwe and South Africa, had to suspend COVID-19 screening processes on Christmas Eve as the congestion was turning deadly. Elsewhere, Rwanda has received 130 more asylum seekers who were stranded in Libya. They will stay in Rwanda until they are resettled in other countries, mainly in Europe and North America. The asylum seekers, mainly from Somalia, Sudan and Eritrea, also have the option of applying for Rwandan citizenship or return to their country of origin. The refugees were evacuated to Rwanda following months of suffering in Libya, where they were stuck after a failed bid to migrate to European countries. After the reception, the new batch will be taken to a designated transit hotel for COVID-19 tests before joining others in Gashora Emergency Transit Center. Finally, U.S. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell has rejected calls from unlikely alliance of President Donald Trump, Congressional Democrats, and some Republicans to boost coronavirus aid. The House of Representatives, held by the Democrats, had voted to increase aid checks to Americans to $2,000. Dozens of House Republicans, reluctant to defy Mr. Trump, backed the increase. But Mr. McConnell's objection means there will not be a direct vote on a revised COVID-19 aid bill in the Senate. Those were the stories making headlines in the region and across the globe. And back to you, Waja.
Thank you, Priska Akol. And here is my colleague Lugala Mulai with the sports news.
Hello, let's take a look at what is making headlines in the world of sports this afternoon. LeBron James made history in Los Angeles Lakers win over San Antonio Spurs, while Jaylen Brown fueled the Boston Celtics with a momentum performance in the NBA. Lakers superstar James became the first ever NBA player with 1,000 consecutive double-digit scoring games as the defending champions topped the Spurs 121-107 on Wednesday. Celebrating his 36th birthday midweek, James posted 26 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds to help the Lakers improve 2-3-2. Elsewhere, Real Madrid lost ground on La Liga's leaders Atletico Madrid as their 5-game winning streak in the competition came grinding to a halt in a 1-1 draw in Elche. Luka Modric scored his third league goal of the season to give Zinedine Zidane's men the lead over 20 minutes as Madrid attacked freely while leaving some dangerous gaps at the back. Elche created numerous good chances before equalizing from a penalty spot, Fidel converting after Dani Carvajal's blatant foul on Antonio Barragan. Finally, Manchester City kick off the new year at Chelsea on Sunday, eager to move on from a recent COVID-19 outbreak and get back to putting pressure on Premier League leaders Liverpool. The match cast into question when COVID-19 forced City to close facilities and postpone Monday's game at Everton is set to go ahead after the visitors return to training on Wednesday. Surging infections in London and the postponement on Wednesday of Tottenham Hotspur's match at Fulham, Chelsea's West London neighbours raised doubts, but the Premier League is confident fixtures can go ahead. That is all from the world of sport this afternoon. I am Lugala Mulai.
Thank you, Lugala Mulai. And of course, that brings us to the end of this afternoon bulletin. But here is the recap of our many stories. A renowned South Sudanese female journalist, Diana John Wani, has passed on yesterday from malaria infection. An activist has criticized the SPLM for yet again failing to appoint women as deputy state governors following last night's presidential decree. And the number of people killed in cattle-related attacks in Awurial County of Lake State has risen to 7. That is the end of iRadio Afternoon News. You can also get these stories and updates by subscribing to iRadio News Alerts on your MTN South Sudan number. Call 700 or dial star 700 hash and follow the instructions. If there's a story or an event you like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 912 986 986. It's also our SAM number. Follow us on Twitter at iRadio Juba. Like our Facebook page, iRadio. You can also visit our website and stream live at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 1:30. I have been Wojo Emmanuel. Thanks for listening.